budgeting can be a huge aspect of your Disney World trip in 2025, but where the heck do you start and how do you do it? Well, we've got you covered right here. It's no secret that budgeting can be really hard in just life, not even when it comes to your Disney vacation, but for Walt Disney World, it can be especially hard because there are so many things that you might not even know about. But the most important thing is to start before you ever head to Florida. Like before we even book the trip, we need to start then, okay? Follow me. Just setting a budget can be a huge step to your Disney World trip. That way you have some expectations before you kind of start your planning of what you can spend, what you're willing to spend, and what you hope to not overspend on. It's just kind of taking it into consideration is a really big piece of having a budget, thinking about a budget. Like that's pretty much that's the main step. Just remember you need to have one, or not if you don't want it. But I have to have one, so I'm sharing what I know with you. So one of the first things that you really need to be thinking about is you kind of just need to consider, like, when are you going to Disney? What are you gonna need when you get to Disney? So for example, the things you need to be thinking about when you're first setting your budget are park tickets, plane tickets, gas money if you're gonna drive instead of taking a plane, and then transportation, different options like that, even hotel prices. All of that good stuff you kind of need to consider well before you ever book anything, because that's gonna be a chunk of your money. That's gonna be almost all the money. You'll also need to consider things like your length of stay. How long do you wanna go to Disney World? Paying for 3 days is a lot different than paying for 10 days. And what kind of experience do you wanna have? Do you wanna have just like the base level, very exciting and preferred Disney experience, or do you want something like super unique and special that no one else is gonna have and you're gonna pay a little extra for it? You just kind of have to decide, like, what do I want for my Disney trip? Every answer is the correct answer. You just need to know if it's right for you or not. If you want to do everything, and literally everything, it's gonna take you some extra time and it's gonna probably take you some extra money. But if you're willing to give up on some things, maybe some rides that you don't really care about or some extra things that you have never wanted to do until TikTok told you to, you can do that too, and you're gonna save some cash. Again, all of these things are right, but are they right for you? What are your first steps? We can talk more about that over here. So let's talk our first steps, right? The first thing you really need to do is understand how much can you spend. Now, we love Disney World. It's kind of my whole personality. But it's not worth going into debt over, which I think we can almost all agree on. I don't want to make like too many big statements, but let's just be honest, it's not worth going into debt over. Disney can be affordable. You just have to understand what you are able to spend personally, not what somebody else told you to spend. What you can afford. Disney can also be affordable if you're aware of what you're going to spend before the trip, during the trip, and then after the trip when that credit card bill comes in. If you're trying to decide the most budget-friendly time to go, typically you can find months like January, February are pretty inexpensive, as well as September and May. Now there are calendars online where you can kind of check those cheapest times to go for hotels, park tickets, and even air transportation. AllEars often does post about that every year just to kind of keep you in the loop, but Disney also has calendars where you can kind of scroll through and see what hotel prices within reason and what ticket prices will look like depending on the month. And once you decide when you're going, then we get to decide where we're staying, which is when I think it gets really, really fun. Oh, no. No. I'm not in the right place. So let's talk hotels and Airbnbs, because you don't have to stay on Disney World property to go to Disney World, which is very nice and can oftentimes be budget friendly. So first we'll talk about staying on property. There are some perks that do come with staying on property, which is why people tend to choose that option, even if it's not the most budget friendly, which again, if you can afford it, I love staying on property. It's almost always my choice, but you know, keep in mind your budget, okay? That's why we started with that. If you are staying on property, you get some free perks like free Disney transportation, which is actually incredibly useful. You can get early entry into the parks. You get about 30 minutes in the parks in the mornings that people do not get if they're not staying on property. You also sometimes get access to the free Disney dining plan. And as of 2025, on the day you check into your Disney World resort, you get free access to the water park, whichever one is open at the time. Disney has too, and they rotate which one is open. So those are some perks that you can expect to find with the price tag that you're gonna pay to stay on Disney property. Now, Disney has different levels of resorts, whatever fits into your budget, of course. They have the value resorts, the moderate resorts, the deluxe resorts, and then the deluxe villa club suite. We're not even gonna get into those because typically we just talk about these three when it comes to planning your Disney World trip, especially when we're talking budget. Value is going to be the least expensive. You're gonna get the most value out of that resort and you're gonna pay the least for it. Moderate is a little bit nicer of a resort, a little bit more of a price increase, but not always that crazy if we're being honest. And then deluxe is going to be one of the highest tiers that you can enjoy at some of the nicest resorts. You know, kind of all in the name. Now, the other tiers that you can talk about are Disney Vacation Club, which is like a totally separate thing and is not in your normal budgeting for Disney World, or Club Level, which is incredibly nice and we've done videos on. If you're curious about what that looks like, you can go check those out. Yeah. If you're kind of looking for something that is in the middle, that's not necessarily overtly Disney themed, but you get access to the perks and is still super affordable and very budget friendly, we are huge fans of the Swan and Dolphin. It is right there in the Epcot resort area and it is so nice. It is not owned and operated by Disney, but they partner with Disney, and so you have a lot of those same perks that you would find at the regular resorts, but with a little bit of a nicer price. Another great option if you're looking to stay as close to Disney as possible without technically being on property is you can stay at a Good Neighbor hotel. So Good Neighbor hotels are basically hotels that are right outside of Disney Springs that Disney partners with, but they do not own and operate them, but you still get the perks. Does that make sense? So it's not a Disney resort, but you still get the Disney perks and you're still very close to Disney Springs in particular. Okay. This is no Joffrey's. If you're not looking to stay on Disney World property, no problem. You can still get to the theme parks. There are so many different resort hotels and different options, Airbnbs, Vrbo. There's so many things in Orlando. Orlando is a tourist spot for sure. So there's lots of different places to stay at different various price points. The biggest thing to remember if you are not staying at a Disney resort is you are not gonna get any of those perks. You're not gonna get the extra entry into the parks, no water park entry for free, and you're gonna have to pay for your Ubers and your Lyfts, which sometimes makes a lot of financial sense. It might cost you less to pay for your Ubers twice a day than it will be to stay on Disney World property. That's just kind of something you have to decide. Okay, I'd rather pay a little bit more and get those perks and those things and not have to worry about additional Uber fees once I'm there, or no, I'd rather save the money and just pay for the Ubers. Again, I'm gonna say this 1,000 times, there's no wrong option. You just have to decide what's right for you. Personally, I like staying on property because it's one less thing to worry about, but that's just me. And maybe I should make better financial choices. I don't know. Oh, also one thing to consider is if you are not paying for a Lyft or Uber and you're staying off property, you do still have to pay for parking fees. Disney World does charge a parking price. If you're park hopping, save your receipt and you can use it at multiple parks, but if you're hanging out, you're still just gonna have to pay the same that you would if you're going to multiple parks. But just remember, that's another fee you have to pay for if you are not staying on Disney World property. So really, that's the things you need to consider when building your budget. And you might be thinking, Emma, I still don't know what, it's okay. You just have to make these choices. This is not something we can choose for you. You need to consider how you're gonna get here, you need to consider where you're going to be staying, and you need to consider how long you're willing to go to Disney World. It's gonna be different for every single party. Me and my husband, it's just the two of us when we plan our Disney trips. Typically, you might have a family of 18. Who knows? So that's why you have to decide for yourself. And so I can't decide for you what your budget should be, but I can give you some of our best budgeting tips, which we can do right now. So what are some budgeting tips? Well, one of the first ones we have to give is one of our favorites, and really you just have to decide if you want to do this, honestly, but you can decide if you want to do some park days and if you want to do some pool days. This is kind of touch and go. You're still going to be in Disney World, of course, so you know, money, but you can save some money on park tickets by kind of hanging out at your resort, whether you're on Disney property or somewhere else, and just chilling by the pool. You're still going to spend a little bit of money when it comes to food and stuff, unless you bring your own, which we'll get into, but kind of skipping a park day can save you quite a bit of money. In our opinion though, if this is a money discussion, pool days need to be an either or situation. I wouldn't necessarily do 5 days in the parks and a pool day if I'm trying to save money. Now, I would do that if I need a break in the middle from all of our walking and steps, but if you're looking to save money, it probably needs to be an either or situation. Now, next up, you can consider skipping the park hopper option. So there are different kinds of Disney World tickets. There's the normal ticket that you can buy, just a base standard day ticket, and then there is Park Hopper and Park Hopper Plus. Park Hopper gives you access to multiple parks per day, and then Park Hopper Plus gives you access to the parks, all of them, and the water park that's open. So we don't typically recommend Park Hopper Plus, but sometimes that's just what people get, and that might be what you get. If you're trying to save some money though, skip the Park Hopper altogether. It can make sense if you're only trying to go for 2 days and maximize your time. Park Hopper can be a great option because while you're spending a little bit more on that ticket, you're not going multiple days, so it will save you money in that case. However, if you want to spend 4 full days in every single park and you want to be able to do that, don't get the Park Hopper ticket option. Just save your money. Either or is a great option, but typically if you're gonna spend 4 days in Disney World, skip the Park Hopper. Now another, oh, I actually have some. Wait, pause. I have these things I'm about to talk about. Okay, I found them. So our next tip is to kind of buy Disney gift cards slowly before your trip. This is something I'm a huge fan of. I keep these around the house all the time. I actually just got back from a fun Disney trip with my friends, so I used like 3 of them, but it's fine. But what I like to do is I like to save these as I go. So typically if I know I'm going to Disney World, I like to try at least a few months in advance to start slowly buying Disney gift cards. $25 to $50. I don't try to do anything big, nothing to like really mess with my budget. But if I do it slowly and grab maybe 2 a month, you know, I can have a few $100s by the time I go to Disney World, which is something that I didn't notice I was spending, and now I get to Disney World and it's basically free money. My husband would tell me it's not free money because I have in fact spent the money, but it's been so many months since I initially spent the money, it's basically free. Girl math, right? Another great thing to do when it comes to Disney gift cards specifically is to try to buy them in bulk. So places like Costco, Sam's Club, even Target sometimes will allow you to buy your Disney gift cards in bulk. So essentially they'll run different offers like $300 worth of Disney gift cards for $250. And sure, you're still spending $250, but you were gonna spend that in Disney World anyways, and now you got 50 bucks for free. So anytime that you can buy those in bulk is gonna be really helpful when it comes to budgeting. If you buy 2 of them, you'll have a few $100s to spend and $100 for free. Girl math. And also Disney World math. This isn't gender specific. She tried to run from me, but she wanted to let you know our next big tip is that maybe you should consider skipping the Disney dining plan. So yeah, the Disney dining plan is back for 2025, and frankly, we love the dining plan. It's really nice, and frankly, just kind of makes Disney more all-inclusive. It's essentially a way to prepay for your meals and snacks before you get to Disney World. And it's a really nice thing if you don't want to stress about the credit card bill when you come home on all the money that you've spent on your food. But is it always the best bang for your buck? No, it's not. So this year, the Disney Dining Plan, it comes in 2 different plans, the Standard Disney Dining Plan and the Quick Service Disney Dining Plan. The Standard Disney Dining Plan gives you access to table service meals, and the Disney Dining Plan is paid per night per person. So for the Standard Disney Dining Plan, it is $97.79 per adult and $30.56 per child per day. Okay, so do the math on that one. The quick service dining plan is much more affordable. You are only eating quick service meals, and it is gonna run you about $59.14 per adult per day and $24.71 per child per day. It can be so convenient. Like, we really enjoy having it and just like having it as an option. However, it's not always gonna be the best choice if you're focusing on saving money. If you want a full breakdown of the Disney Dining Plan, what all that entails, what you get with it, you can actually find that on the channel right now. We've done a recently updated one, but there's at least one from last year, because I don't know in what order these are going up. The new one should be up, I think. Editor he'll correct me, it's fine. Just consider skipping. Have you considered ever bringing your own food and groceries? Because that is a budgeting tip, and you can do it, which a lot of people don't actually know about. Now, this is another great way to save some money is if you bring your own food and drinks to the park, because you can bring them inside, not just to your resort room. Now there are some rules that you need to abide by, right? You can't have any glass in the park. You cannot bring in alcohol. Sorry, y'all, that would be the real money saver, but no, you cannot do that. It can't be anything that has like a really strong odor and could upset or just bother other guests. It also can't be anything that needs to be refrigerated or microwaved. So kind of those shelf stable items is really what you can anticipate on bringing. I love Uncrustables. Bringing your own meals can be the biggest money saver. There are ways to eat smart in Disney World. I love to eat kids meals for that reason if I'm paying out of my own pocket and I'm really balling on a budget. But if you're with a large group, bringing your own snacks and drinks at the very least can save you so much money. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, well, I'm flying in, like I can't bring my grocery haul. I'm not bringing groceries with me. Fair. And if you don't have a car, it's not gonna be as easy to get to a grocery store. Now you can Uber to grocery stores, of course, that's totally allowed, but you also can use a grocery delivery, which is actually something we recommend. It's really straightforward. We actually really particularly love the Kroger grocery delivery service. It is one of the most straightforward, easy online delivery service. All you have to do is order online. Truly, we've done this several times, especially when we're doing things like last to leave and we need our food delivered to us. All you do is you get on the Kroger app, you do the online ordering service, you choose your time slot for the next day or for just later in the day, whichever is your preference whenever you need it. And you just place the order. Someone else shops for you. It's actually really nice and convenient. And even if you're not at Disney World, sometimes it's just nice to treat yourself, so you don't have to go grocery shopping. Once the order is ready, it's actually just gonna alert you that it's on the way, and they're actually going to drop your groceries off at your resort, which is really nice. Now, there are some things to kind of keep in mind with the service. All of the delivery services listed, you get to submit your order, you get to select your delivery window before you even leave for home. If you know your travel day is gonna be really hectic and you don't really wanna worry about like placing an order for your bottle of water and your goldfish and crackers, you can do that before you leave. It's really nice and super convenient, and another thing you don't have to worry about once you're on vacation if you do it beforehand. Now, they cannot bring your groceries directly to your room because you're not gonna know your room number, especially if you're doing it first thing. But Bell Services is actually where you're going to have your things delivered to. If you place an order with alcohol though, the grocery delivery service actually might have its own policy depending on ID check and signature. You just kind of have to plan for that because I don't know if you're using Kroger, but if you need an ID, plan for it. One thing that is really nice and convenient is you actually do not have to pay Bell Services to accept your grocery order for you. So a little less for y'all to pay for, which we're talking budget. So that's actually pretty helpful. One thing to think about and an experience we have had in the past is sometimes we've had this with Amazon Prime Now in the past specifically, your orders might not be labeled 1000% correct. So there might be some delays in kind of getting it to you. Now, one thing that is also really nice that Bell Service will do for you is they actually can store your grocery items in a cooler or a freezer, which is very nice. Another thing to note, in the past we have had the issue where they only stored it in the air conditioning, which is very different than a refrigerator. So just kind of something to be aware of depending on what you order. Now, if you don't want to go to Bell Services, you actually can pay Bell Services to bring your groceries to you. It's gonna run you about a $6 charge. There's a little bit of a service fee, but frankly, what's $6 in Disney World? If you want the convenience, pay for it. Another thing outside of budgeting that might be really helpful about having your own groceries is Disney does not have a lot of like name brand things. If you or your kids or anyone in your party is really picky, they might not always have what you want. For example, if you need cheddar goldfish, Disney does not sell goldfish. They have something similar. It's like a little Chip 'n Dale Mickey Mouse situation, but it doesn't taste the same. So if your party is really picky and you need those goldfish, you're going to need to consider that and maybe order ahead or bring them with you. There's the grocery delivery. I talked way too long on that. We'll keep moving. Now, this is not the end of our tips, but we've been in my kitchen for a while and I want to change it. So we're gonna go. Next up, a great way to save some money is to use your rope drop strategy over just paying for lightning lanes. And we've talked about lightning lanes a lot on this channel. We really like them at times and in certain parks. Disney's Lightning Lane service is essentially their skip the line service. You can pay, there's different tiers of it. There's the new multi-pass tier and the single pass tier and the premier pass tier, which you can watch the videos on that. That's not even in the budgeting discussion, in my opinion. The multi-pass tier is essentially going to give you access to most of the Lightning Lanes in Disney World. You get to select 3 before you even head into the park. So you're guaranteed 3 multi-pass Lightning Lanes. Single pass is going to give you access to the biggest rides in each park for an additional fee per person per day. In Magic Kingdom, there are 2. We really like this service. There's no denying it gets you out of the lines. You skip long lines and you do get a little bit more free time with your day. We're also not going to deny that it can kind of be stressful booking your Lightning Lanes during your park stay, making sure you're paying attention, what time you need to be certain places, and sometimes your favorite rides can actually book up entirely and you might not get a Lightning Lane for it, which is pretty frustrating because you've paid for it. So, you know, caveats to using the service. If you're looking to save some cash, a great way to try to avoid lines is by rope dropping. Rope dropping in Disney World is essentially getting to the parks really early to get in line so that when the park opens, you're not waiting in lines. And I hear how I said it, but it's still true. You're waiting in a line in the morning to avoid waiting in lines later in the day, which personally we think is worth it. Each park has a different strategy for the best rope drops, and it really just depends on what you prioritize. So in Magic Kingdom, if you're trying to do the most, the Adventureland sweep is typically a pretty good way to go about it. You head straight over to the Jungle Cruise, then you can hit up Pirates. When Big Thunder Mountain is back open in 2026, you can include Big Thunder Mountain, and if you're really lucky, you can circle back around to Haunted Mansion, all within the first like hour and a half, 2 hours of the park opening on a really good day. You can also head over to Fantasyland, where you can try to hop in line for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which is famously the most busy ride in the park. If you have early entry and you're staying on property, that is a great use of your time, in our opinion. You also can try to head over to Peter Pan's Flight, which also is going to sport some pretty long times, but as much as I love it, and it's one of my favorite rides, it's not typically worth that long of a wait. Yeah, cool. In Hollywood Studios, you have 3 different options. You can head to Rise of the Resistance, which is always a good option if you're a huge Star Wars fan, although we prefer to do it at night, but then you risk the ride not being open. I hope you guys heard her yawn. Am I boring you? She's never had to pay a bill. So Rise of the Resistance, sometimes it might not be open at the end of the night, but typically you can find shorter wait times and you can rope drop something else if you choose not to do that. You also can head over to Slinky Dog Dash, which is still gonna take you a while, but at least it's not so hot, which I find very nice. Or you can attempt the Tower Rock and Roller Coaster combo and try to hit both of those up on Sunset Boulevard. In Epcot, we've got 2 choices for you. Typically we go to either Frozen or Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. If you are staying in the Epcot resort area and you get to come in through the International Gateway, definitely consider going to Remy's. And if you're coming in through the front, Frozen is going to be a good option. Finally, in Animal Kingdom, we typically find ourselves rope dropping Flight of Passage. Now you're still going to wait a while. It's kind of similar to Rise of the Resistance in that sense, that you can wait till the end of the night and find a lot shorter times, but you also have to be prepared that maybe the ride might go down. That's always something that might happen at any point in the day. If you're not gonna rope drop Flight of Passage, Kilimanjaro Safaris is a great one to go to in the morning because the animals are a lot more active because it's not so hot outside. And I'm the exact same way. Rope dropping is just a great way to maximize the rides you're getting on, have lower lines, and save some money. One of the, I think, honestly cutest ideas to help save some cash is to actually buy your souvenirs ahead of time, which might sound a little wonky because you're like, I can't buy my Disney World souvenirs ahead of time. You can, especially if you have younger kiddos. This is really who that tip is for, is if you have those young kiddos who every single store they walk through, they touch something and they need something. And also I do the same thing, but I have to pay for it. So like it makes a difference. The kids, they just think they want it, right? This is one of the things that will hurt your wallet the most, is those souvenirs in Disney World. There's no denying it. We love our pins and our plushes and our backpacks, but they cost so much money. So how do we avoid that? Well, this one again is specifically for kiddos, but buying what my friends used to call surprise souvenirs for your kids before the trip is going to be a great way to save money. Do not tell them you have purchased these. And it will feel very new and exciting to them when they get to Disney World and you surprise them with different plushes, maybe a special backpack, or even a special set of mini ears. One of my friends growing up, their mom would do this thing called surprise gifts from Mickey. So every morning they would wake up and there would be bags tied to their door that Mickey had left for the kids the night before, and it would be full of different things like a Mickey plush doll, different activity books, some snacks, just fun, exciting things that maybe they can use throughout the day if they're trying to kill time in lines, if you're trying to save some money on snacks, or if you don't want to buy every single plush doll you see. The kids would absolutely love their surprise Mickey presents that they would get in the morning, and it would also be really, really helpful every time they walked through a store and they would say, hey, I really want that. Their mom would be able to say, well, Mickey might get you a surprise tomorrow. What if we wait and see? So that way you can kind of balance. They might know that they're getting something, but you know, let's hold off. Honestly, Target is gonna have a lot of Disney items. Costco has a lot, and honestly, Aldi has been really coming through with some great Disney merchandise as of late. That can be another thing that you can buy slowly a few months in advance, and so that way you're not spending a ton of money right then, right there. Another really fun way to save money, that this one is more kid specific, but frankly, I love these activities in Disney World, is checking out the free kid activities that you can find throughout the parks. So in Epcot, they have KidCot, which if you've ever seen our Everything in Walt Disney World series, you know and love, I hope. KidCot is a really fun, interactive thing that kids can do in each country as you're going through the World Showcase. They get a little card that has a coloring sheet on the back, and then on the front, there's a bunch of different information about the country that you're in, and typically a sticker comes with it too. It's completely free. The kids can sit in color, they can learn something about where they're at, and it's just a really fun, simple souvenir also if you want to collect them as you're going around. Another great example of a free activity, and this one is actually my favorite, is the Wilderness Explorer's Guide that you can get in Animal Kingdom. It's actually a pretty big guide, completely for free. You get stickers to help fill it up as you do the different activities. You learn a lot as you're heading through Animal Kingdom, and I think it's just really a fun way to explore the park, because a lot of people deem Animal Kingdom a half-day park if you're only doing rides, which I totally understand. But if you want to fill out your day a little bit more while you learn something and keep your kids occupied for free, the Wilderness Explorer Guide is so much fun. Another really fun free thing to do in Animal Kingdom is you can actually do the animation experience, which is a drawing class on Rafiki's Planet Watch, and you get to just learn from a Disney animator how to draw different Disney characters, and then you get to keep your drawing for free. My husband and I love to collect them, especially when we would go on Disney vacations and just see like who has the better one. It's always him, but I like to pretend I stand a chance. Over in Magic Kingdom, you can also get pixie dusted for free. That's another fun, free kid activity that is ageless. Anyone can do it. You just head over into Sir Mickey's in Fantasyland and you ask one of the cast members like, hey, can I be pixie dusted? And they give you some pixie dust and they make a wish with you, and it's very sweet. It is just glitter, but it's very fun and very magical, and I love doing it. And it's also gonna stay on your scalp for 2 to 3 business days. So it's a pretty good bang for your buck considering you're paying nothing. Now finally, this one's not even budgeting, but it's just something to remember that you can grab. There are several freebies around Disney World, and if you're not getting them, you're missing out because you're not paying for them anyways, so you might as well go enjoy them. You can get things like celebration buttons, birthday buttons, anniversary buttons, and you can put your name on it so that way cast members know that you're celebrating something. Frankly, I get a celebration button every single time I go to a Disney park for fun, even if there's nothing to celebrate per se, because life's worth celebrating. So you should celebrate, and it's free. You can also get water cups around the parks, which is actually a big old necessity, and you should be drinking water, so you might as well do it for free. It's not always the coldest, but you know what? Beggars can't be choosers, and sometimes you just need water. So utilize the free water, save your money. The Dasani and Smart Waters will add up so quickly. Just save your money unless you're desperate. You can also expect to find stickers around the parks. Now this is not a guarantee, but it's gonna happen quite a bit. Cast members a lot of times will have stickers, especially at the resorts for you or your kiddos. I have a big collection of them in my journal. It's just something fun to kind of keep your eyes peeled for. You can also find free sodas at Club Cool, and not like big sodas, but you can try different sodas from around the world completely for free, which is a really fun activity. And then you can also grab park maps. A lot of people think like, oh, I don't really need it, I know where I'm going. That's true, you don't really need it, but it's a really fun, cool souvenir, I think, that people can have for nothing. You know, just paste it in your journal. And I'm realizing right now that this is behind me, and I know that this is gonna get cut, but I just wanna say it for the editor to know. I'm trying to decide where I wanna hang my pictures. So I mapped it out. and it looks really bad and I'm realizing it too late. So, ooh, that zoomed. So these are just a few things to consider when it comes to budgeting for Disney World. There is so many ways to do Disney. You just need to make sure that you can do it affordably for you and yours. Now, let us know your favorite budgeting tip in the comments. Thank you guys so much for letting me ramble about one of my favorite things. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And now if you want to learn how to plan your entire Disney World trip for 2025, we have a video up on the channel right now. Bye!